Why, Yoshi? Why? Is there a particular reason that red shell had to go to me when I was second in line? Why not hit it on the first guy? Why not hit it on the guy that's in front, that's like well in front, yeah? And then we'll both get a good time. But no, apparently you've got to hit me with it. Arsehole. Hello and welcome to another episode of the
Oh no you don't.
What? What the shit? Really? Oh god damn it. Jesus.
Hello everybody and welcome to the next episode of Retro Odyssey podcast. I'm your host as always, Adam, and I'm joined by my three partners in crime, or my three driving crew, Matt, Steve and Ryan. Hey guys.
Hello.
Hello.
Morning. How have you all been doing? What have you been up to this month? Been playing any decent games?
Splatoon mostly.
Splatoon 2?
Yeah, the final Splatfest is running right now, and I've put hours and hours into it.
Nice one. Isn't it Team Chaos and Team Order?
Yes.
Which one are you on? Chaos?
Order, of course.
Nice. I think I'd probably go for Order out of the two if I played Splatoon 2 in multiplayer. But yeah, a lot of people seem to be going for Chaos. That's why I thought.
Yeah, Chaos is by far the more popular one, which makes it very easy to find games as an Order player.
Yeah. Is that why you chose it, or did you just choose it because you prefer things nice and ordered?
No, I chose it because I prefer Order to Chaos. I every Splatfest I have chosen because I liked that thing of the two choices better. It just so happens that all of them were on the same character side.
Yeah, nice. So you've just been playing Splatoon then?
Well, I've also been working on some other stuff that's going to be featured on my YouTube channel. Diablo, Spider-Man games, stuff like that.
Nice. The new Spider-Man game or older ones?
Older ones. The new one is going to be involved, but I don't currently own that, so...
So not yet. Okay, cool. What about you guys? Matt? What have you been?
My month has been pretty much just Final Fantasy XIV.
Shadowbringers.
Yeah, the new expansion came out, which is excellent, by the way. So I've been, just on that pretty much constantly.
I remember, last month, you got really into Bloodstained, and then at the beginning of this month, you were still into Bloodstained, and then you switched to Final Fantasy, and you've, not touched Bloodstained.
Yeah, I mean, I will definitely go back to Bloodstained, because that is something that is excellent. I mean, we can talk about Bloodstained in a bit more depth now that we've had a chance to play it. It's absolutely fantastic game, but Final Fantasy XIV took precedence for me this month.
Yeah, I mean, I played a lot of Bloodstained this month. I didn't touch it by this time last month, but now I've beaten the game, and it's pretty good. I played on the Switch, which is apparently the inferior version, but honestly, I still had a great time. I had very few problems with it. The only main issue I had is that the story doesn't really seem to connect to Curse of the Moon. It's got a lot of the same characters, but there seems to be a lot of stuff that doesn't quite link up. It's a bit inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Or perhaps I'm remembering Curse of the Moon incorrectly. But yeah, it's pretty good. What about you, Ryan? What have you been up to?
Just been digging myself deeper into that Minecraft hole with short breaks with Smash as usual.
Nice.
I have a realm going and finally got some people going on it, and it's just yeah. That's a dangerous game to get into if you know how to lose. Currently, I've already sunk 300 hours into Minecraft, so it's my third bout with the game too.
I occasionally go back to it now and then and put a good chunk of time into it, but then I always kind of drift off again. But I always keep it installed though.
It's better with friends.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up the Switch version at some point. I got in with my brother 8-9 years ago. Actually, probably more recently than that, but I wasn't very deep into it, so...
The Switch version is cool because they have a special Mario World map. It's all has a bunch of really cool shit built on it, and
yeah,
just the Mario skin, while a little confusing if you're a Minecraft veteran, it's still really cool to look at and play around with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really fond of like the artistic design of Minecraft. Like, there's a lot of games that took that art style and, made their own game with it. And I've always found it quite ugly. And there was a game, what was it, like some kind of horror game, Eldritch, I think, that did that style and used it really well. And I enjoyed it. But aside from that, all of the like Minecraft-looking games, I tend to avoid because I find them very ugly.
Eldritch is very good, though.
It is. But yeah, like Minecraft, I can see how people would get into it, but I don't know, I've just never really clicked with it. Although, speaking of creation things, the things that I've been like heavily involved in this month, after I beat Bloodstained, I got sunk into Mario Maker. And yeah, I've been playing a fair bit of that on my Switch. I didn't think I'd like it, because I'm not a big fan of 2D Marios, as we mentioned when we covered, was it Mario Brothers 3? Way back when?
I think that might be on the pilot, so I don't think that's actually on air.
Yeah, I think that was when we did the pilot, so I played that, and not a massive fan of 2D Mario, so I wasn't sure I'd like it, but I love it. It's like one of my favourite games on the Switch.
Yeah, I'm very torn about Mario Maker because I dealt with it a little bit on the Wii U, and like I enjoyed it, which was weird for me because I am terrible at 2D Mario, but it's one of those where I will probably get it at some point, but it's not like a priority.
Well, it's actually got story mode to this one, which I'm not sure if that was in the Wii version or not. Sorry, the Wii U version. And there are like 120 levels or something, I believe.
Yeah, I think they just had the 100 Mario challenge or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were they designed by Nintendo, or is that just playing like user ones?
The 100 Mario challenge was Nintendo levels, then you could do all the user stuff.
All right, okay, so it's a similar thing, but this is more of a story thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like this one, the story mode, it's basically playing around with different concepts, really just to, give you ideas for the creator. And it's really well done. And then the creator's really, easy to use and, it's pretty excellent.
And far more robust than it was in the Wii U version.
Yeah, I mean, it's still got some issues, but it's, overall really good. There are a few lacking features, like the Super Mario 3D World theme doesn't have like a lot of the stuff that's in the others. For example, like you can get tracks in this, where you can put things on tracks and then move across them.
Yeah.
And in Super Mario 3D World, it doesn't have. Even though in Super Mario 3D World, you actually had tracks in the game. But, overall, it's still pretty robust, and it seems like they're probably going to support it down the line with, like, extra content. And I hope they do, because, I've sunk, like, maybe about close to 80 hours or something in, and I've had it, less than 2 weeks. So I'm pretty hooked.
Do you think they'll ever add in the ability to make 3D levels?
Well, the 3D world levels are semi-3D. I don't think they would do proper 3D levels, just because of that would be a lot more difficult to create. This is like more of a 2D plane, and you'd have to change everything around. I don't see how it would work in 3D. But the 3D world ones are sort of 2.5D, in that it's like all 3D models and things like that, but in the 2D plane.
Well, they'll wait on that because then they can market Super Mario 3D Maker.
Yeah.
That could be a whole new game.
I think the problem is that with 2D Mario, they've probably run to the limit of what they can do. Like, they had the new Super Mario Brothers games, and they sort of ran out of ideas, because the first one, they did loads of stuff with, and then after that, they were just kind of the same. So it felt like we've reached the limit of 2D Mario, you make your own now.
Yeah, that's why Mario Maker exists.
Yeah, we'll just concentrate on the 3D stuff, and then you can make your own 2D stuff. We'll release these Mario Maker ones from time to time, just so you can keep on making your own. But otherwise, for main games, we'll just do 3D.
I played the Wii U one, New Super Mario Brothers U, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And it is essentially just a nicer looking 2D Mario. There's nothing particularly innovative about the gameplay or design.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the reason why they transitioned from that to the Mario Maker, because they're just like, okay, we'll just put out the tools and let the community just experiment and do loads of different stuff. Some of them are really clever. Like, there's one based on WarioWare If you've ever played those with the micro game.
Oh man. So there was one point where my roommate and I were doing Let's Play videos on YouTube, and we were playing the original Mario Maker and found a WarioWare level, and it was great.
Yeah, someone's done that in this. So you've got like a bomb on a timer which activates this switch, and you basically have to work out the tiny little puzzle. Like you have to reach a door, or you have to throw a thing on a thing, and just do like tiny things, just like in WarioWare.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
And there's another one as well where it's like a Pokemon type thing, where you have to maneuver the enemies inside this giant Pokeball and then press the button which will trap them and give you a key. So you can reach the next room. And people are doing some really crazy stuff with it. Like I've made a level where it's based on Medusa, where you can actually look at the Medusa creature, which is effectively like a giant boo and chain chomps for like snake hair. So you have to move backwards. So you've got to like bounce against springs. You have to go backwards on slopes, just so you're not looking at it. Otherwise, the floor collapses.
Mm-hmm.
You can do some pretty neat stuff with it. And yeah, if you're into like Mario games, I would recommend it. I mean, I'm not really into 2D Mario, and I love it. So I'd get it if you just like games.
See, what would be funny is if they were gathering ideas. These were just...
And then just going to nick everyone's ideas. And I'm like, okay, we like this. We're going to do
Well,
it.
I was about to say, well, what they do is they go and find like the most popping, the most clever level designs, from certain creators, and then they go and take. They're like, you're going to make the next Mario game.
Yeah.
Or even they could do like what Doom did with, was it Final Doom, where they just took a lot of user levels and just stuck them together? Can you advise on that, Matt? Didn't they do that with Final Doom?
The thing is with Final Doom, it's kind of like you've got 2 new episodes, which are very, very difficult.
Oh yeah, I don't like Final Doom a lot.
But it does all thematically fit together. So if it was created by fans, I think it may have been created like by just 1 or 2 fans rather than a collection.
Yeah, possibly. I'm not sure. I just know that they did a user-based one for Doom. But that's what I've been playing anyway, so I would definitely recommend to you guys if you don't own it already. It's definitely worthwhile, and even just for the single player, I'd say that's probably worth the price alone. And then you've got the maker on top and everyone else's levels.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not creative enough to make the levels, but I can definitely play other ones.
You know what? I didn't think that first. And my initial levels weren't that good, but when you start playing other levels and you start playing like the story mode ones, you start playing with ideas, and like now I'm kind of happier with my levels. I'm not as good at making like traditional levels where it's just like a normal level, but stuff based around the gimmick and the puzzle, I'm better at that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, anyway, I think it's time that we move on to the gaming news now. So we'll take a little break and we'll join you again to look over the headlines for this month. Okay, so our first piece of gaming news I think it's appropriate to talk about is the PC Engine Mini. I think pretty much since we started this new format, we've been talking about mini consoles like every month. So another month, another mini console. Konami have announced that they're re-releasing the PC Engine, or the TurboGrafx 16 as you may know it as,
Aha!
format. And we've even got the lineup. I don't actually have the lineup in front of me. Anyone got it to hand?
No.
I know we've got things like Rondo of Blood, which is obviously one of the big ones.
Really?
I think if it wasn't for Rondo of Blood, people probably wouldn't give a shit about the PC Engine, because like that was the big game for it. Because I don't think I care about any other PC Engine game apart from that. I mean, you've obviously got the Bonk games, which... Wasn't Bonk the mascot for the TurboGrafx 16? I'm pretty sure it was.
There's only one Bonk game on here, Bonk's Revenge.
I think he was the mascot. So they probably just thought, okay, we'll go for Bonk's Revenge, which, maybe that's like the Sonic 2 of the TurboGrafx 16.
I don't actually recognize a lot of the games in the American list. I recognize more games in the Japanese list. The ones I recognize in the American list, stuff like Bonk's Revenge, New Adventure Island, R-Type, Space Harrier, Ease. But Japanese ones, you've got Rondo of Blood, Bomberman, Fantasy Zone, Gradius, Snatcher.
Yeah, but isn't it including the Japanese ones and the American ones?
I'm not entirely sure. to be honest, because a couple of these, like East, is on both lists,
Yeah.
1 and 2. So I'm not entirely sure. I kind of hope that the console has all of them, because I definitely want some games in the Japanese list that aren't in the American list.
Yeah, because I mean, there's stuff like Snatcher, which is quite a big game. Like, loads of people love Snatcher because it was made by Was it made by Kojima?
Yeah, Snatcher was Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, and that's like one of the games that, people were after. Because I think Snatcher's available on the Saturn as well. And then same with the TurboGrafx 16, it was only in Japanese.
I want to say
the
that
Sega
Snatcher was a Sega CD game.
Yeah, it was. It's actually one of the most expensive Sega CD games.
That got a Western version, so that's got an English one. But then the TurboGrafx 16 one, that was only in Japanese. So I wonder if they're going to do like a localized version of it with English. Because I mean, they've got the English version because they had it on the Sega CD.
Interesting thing about Snatcher is it's actually set in the Metal Gear universe.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Like, and not like, oh, by the way, your robot companion is called Metal Gear, and it's like, and they actually say, oh, but he's not dangerous. He's just named after basically the super weapon from the Crisis 100 years ago.
Interesting.
And it's like, ah.
But you're right, Matt. I think the Japanese list is better overall. I mean, I'm looking at the list now, and I mean, you've got Choaniki on there. I mean, why aren't they releasing Choaniki on the American one? Like, you know what Choaniki is?
I don't
Never.
know.
It's a shmup, but you control like a big, burly, semi-naked man as he fights other massive.
I have seen that. I have actually seen that.
It's like the bizarrest, craziest thing that has ever been made. And it wasn't just like a one-off thing. There are a bunch of Choaniki games. There's even Choaniki spin-offs. So it must have had an audience to be popular.
Right.
Well, I mean, we are talking about Japan, land of the strange.
Yeah. But it's just so weird.
I think the most important thing to talk about with the TurboGrafx or PC Engine Mini or whatever the hell you want to call it is that, and advertised, this is also advertised right on Konami's splash page, up to 5 players with sold separately multi-tap. They're selling the multi-tap separately.
That's pretty cool. I mean, they could have built it in, but...
They totally could have.
Yeah.
But it's like, all right, there you go.
I mean, it's going to be interesting, the TurboGrafx 16 Mini. I mean, Konami don't have the best reputation.
No.
The good thing is, I mean, their recent collections have been largely solid. You had the Castlevania collection, which, was pretty decent. But then there was like the arcade collection, which was iffy, apparently. And then there's the Contra collection, which I don't really know much about, so I'm not sure how the emulation is on that. So we'll see how this goes. I mean, the good thing it is it literally is just emulation of their, older classic titles. And as such, it could be all right because it's just emulating. But we'll see.
I mean, hopefully, it's definitely one that I'm interested in picking up, like more so than the Mega Drive Mini, purely because I have like so many Mega Drive collections, which have got all those games on. Yeah,
the problem with the Mega Drive Mini is that most of them exist on these compilations that they've just re-released all the time. I mean, you've got a few games like the Wily Wars, for example, which, have never been re-released, which is great. But aside from that, most of them you've seen like a million times before, and you probably own on like 20 different systems.
Yeah.
But this one has like a large selection of like Japanese exclusive shooters and stuff like that, which is definitely something I'm interested in. Yeah,
I'd say it'll be pretty neat, and hopefully Konami gets the emulation right and it turns out alright.
Another little bit of news kind of tied to Konami as well. We mentioned the Castlevania collection. If you picked it up on launch, there has actually been an update now to add all of the Japanese versions of the games into the Western release. So if you update your game, on whichever console you've got it on, you will find all the Japanese games. There's like a separate section for them at the bottom of the list.
Nice.
It's weird because it's something that's completely unnecessary. There's absolutely no reason for it, but they did anyway, which is strange for Konami because you can't imagine them doing things like that just for the sake of it. Like, here you go, here's a nice little bonus.
I'm surprised they didn't do like they did with Silent Hill 2 and just misplace the source code for everything. And
Right?
Oof.
They had to buy the emulators back from Nintendo.
Like the Japanese versions, is that only on the Castlevania one or is that on Contra as well?
I don't have the Contra one, so I can't say, but the Castlevania one definitely has them in now.
Yeah. Because, I mean, we touched on that briefly, but that's another bit of gaming news, I suppose. The Contra collection was released over the last month, which contains, like, most of the classic 2D Contras. I say classic, I played maybe 2 of them. But, you know, people love the Contra games, so that's another thing that exists. I mean, there's certainly a whole lot better than that new one. The new one that's been announced looks like garbage, but, yeah.
The Contra games are a little bit too hard for me, personally.
Yeah, I mean, they are kind of fun. You know, I played the first 2, I think, on XBLA, and they were all right. We played co-op, but they are a little bit infuriating. It's something that you know, if you were a kid and that was your only game, it'd be fun to kind of go back to and get better at, and it's probably quite rewarding. But in this day and age, I've just got other games to play. I don't want to be dying again and again just to be able to get past, like, a tiny section. I mean, you've got, like, save states and stuff, but, you know, just can't be asked. I'll probably get it eventually, maybe, on a sale in a couple of years.
Well, I was just looking at this list, just kind of pedal back to the TurboGrafx Mini. When you go to the American list, there's 2 lists of games, even for the TurboGrafx, and it's like TurboGrafx 16 and PC Engine, but they're both listed. There's only 24 games listed under English, and there's 26 listed under PC Engine that are in Japanese, and Snatcher's on that list.
Yeah, I think I heard that it is going to include both, but I might be misremembering information.
Well, I'm just wondering if they're going to do any translation or if it was already translated. I don't know. So,
Well,
yeah, they might be putting Snatcher on this. That'd be neat.
Maybe, like in the English version, they're going to translate those Japanese versions into English, and then the Japanese versions, the American ones, are going to translate into Japanese.
Maybe.
Can't imagine Konami going to that much effort, but
No, neither can I.
maybe they will. I mean, as I say, like with the Japanese releases on the Castlevania collection, you know, that surprised me, so...
Well, with a game like Snatcher, they'd absolutely have to translate it. Half of it's a text-based adventure game.
Oh yeah, definitely. If they don't translate Snatcher, it's just going to be...
It's
you won't be able to play it.
Yeah, you won't be able to play it unless you speak Japanese.
Yeah.
Or can read, whatever. Like Gradius, whatever, you're shooting shit.
Yeah. But for story-based stuff,
Yeah.
it's going to be pretty difficult. What else was there? Oh, there was the Evercade. Do you want to talk about that, Matt?
It's a new handheld cartridge-based system that's coming out, an emulation system, which has kind of like collections. You have an Atari Collection 1, Atari Collection 2, Data East Collection, Interplay Collection 1 and 2, Mega Cat Studios Collection, and Namco Collection 1 and 2. So each of these has probably about a dozen or so games on them, and you just put in whichever cartridge you want. It's all like officially licensed, and it's looking pretty good. Like I say, it's a handheld console, and unlike a lot of these other consoles, you do have the ability to get more games for it without having to hack it. You just buy like whatever cartridge you want and just kind of like do it that way. So it does have the possibility for other stuff to come out later on as well. It's an interesting little thing. It's not too expensive as well. The standard edition is £60 or $80, which includes one cart, and the premium edition is £80 or $100, which includes 3 carts. And the carts themselves, to buy them separately, are £15 or $20. But there are other companies kind of like involved, which they haven't announced yet. It looks like quite a big library that they're trying to build here.
That's wacky.
Yeah, it should be pretty neat. I mean, it's an affordable price, so I think it would appeal to quite a few people. I mean,
And you can connect it to your TV as well.
Oh, that's cool. I thought it was just handheld. That's neat. Speaking of connecting things to the TV, the other bit of news is they released something for the N64, so you could plug it into a HDMI TV.
Yeah, it's called the Super 64. It's a new HDMI connector for the N64, which is very expensive for what it does. It won't necessarily make everything look fantastic. It's not going to like change, like upscale your textures and stuff like that. So you're still going to have kind of like those fairly low res textures that a lot of the N64 games have. But
Pixels and polygons.
HD.
yeah, it is an option there, which is like over £100. Personally, I'm going to wait for Hyperkin's Ultra 64, I believe they're calling it, which is their emulator console. I'm just going to wait for that because my N64 is in its last legs anyway. So, and I'm not paying 100 odd quid for a cable.
Yeah.
Also, interestingly enough, if you don't want to wait for that, Hyperkin has made a mini Switch dock that looks like an N64. So that could be fun.
For me, I've already got a box that has 8 different input ports going into one HDMI port that gives me, HDMI, composite, and component, and VGA all going into one port. So, like, I've already got a way to get my old consoles onto HDMI. So I'm not going to shell out another, $100+ for something that might improve the quality.
Yeah, as you say, there are better options. I mean, the Ultra 64, for example, is probably going to be better value because you get to replace your N64.
Yeah, that's the thing. I might pick that one up.
To just break. Still, it's a neat thing, and I'm sure there are people there that want to have like the original console and pay for this cable. So it's a thing.
Yeah.
Right, any more gaming news? I think we've covered most of the big ones.
Well, not retro, but there is the Switch Mini or the Switch Lite and the new model Switch that was just announced.
That's true. So yeah, the Switch Mini, it's a little bit smaller than the normal Switch. I think it's got the same length as the normal Switch, but missing one of the Joy-Cons. And then obviously like a bit shorter as well. And everything's like all in one, which could be a good thing or could be a bad thing. I mean, you don't have all the movable parts, which is good. So you don't have to worry about breaking your Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
But then there's also the current issue with Joy-Con drift, where if they don't sort that out, that's going to be a bit trickier with the Switch Lite. Because you'd have to replace the whole console, I suppose, if it's not easy to get to.
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that the controller scheme on the inside is a bit closer to the Pro controller.
We'll see. I mean, they've released like a million different Joy-Cons in different colours, but like all of them seem to be like the same model, so they all have the same problem, which is stupid. Like I can imagine like the standard ones you get with the console being funny, but release these separate packs with the different colours and give them proper fucking joysticks rather than these ones that like break after, however many months. Like I've had to send in 2 of my Joy-Cons because of Joy-Con drift. I mean, they've replaced them and they've fixed them for free and relatively quickly, but it's still a pain in the ass.
I think the important thing is just how counter gimmick the Switch Lite is.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is, you can play it on the dock or you can play it on the go. You can pop the Joy-Cons off and you can toss one to a friend and play a lot of 2-player games, or you can just freestyle it or do whatever you want. It's like it's a one-screen DS now.
And it's like, it's handheld or it's handheld.
Yeah.
There's no prop to do tabletop mode.
It's a Switch that can't switch.
It's a not Switch.
I had a friend over a couple of weeks ago, and we were playing Mario Kart 8, like one Joy-Con each, and that's just not going to be possible with this new one.
It won't be difficult to do. Like, tabletop mode, they would have to do very little in order to make it, functional. hooking it to a TV, just have like a HDMI port, so you could just plug a cable into your TV and then use like a Pro controller or something.
The thing is on Nintendo's website it says it doesn't support tabletop mode. But apparently in an interview with one of these gaming sites, they explicitly said that you can put it down and you can hook up controllers and play in tabletop mode. Now, what they meant there was it doesn't have a kickstand. So it doesn't support tabletop mode like the normal Switch does. But here's my entire issue. Adam, you play Super Mario Party, right? You own that, right?
Yeah.
You can't play Super Mario Party on this thing unless you own a second pair of Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So now to play a $60 game, you have to drop you another $70.
Yeah.
Not to mention that if you did that and you were trying to play multiplayer, you'd both have to be hunched over this tiny screen.
Yep.
Yeah. And you'd have to get a special stand in order to make it work, so you've got an extra cost in there, unless you pop it between books or something. But like the Switch kickstand is so shit, it's like the cheapest, crappiest, misplaced thing, that having a similar thing on the Switch Lite would be so cheap for them to do, surely. And even thing is like having the HDMI port to connect to the TV. They could just have these basic things just to give it a bit more functionality and make it, be able to switch between different modes.
I think part of the
Switch dock, like a Switch mini dock, and sell it extra, and it's more money. I don't understand.
I think part of the reason for the no kickstand is eliminating openings. So, like, the kickstand opens up a little bit, and you can get to the SD card underneath. You cut that out, and that's one less place for things to get into the electronics. Like,
just don't have it opening to the SD card. Just have it as a bit of plastic that comes out. It doesn't open the inside.
I mean, I'm not saying they're right. I'm just saying that that's probably part of the consideration. And it's also like, they've seen people talking about, oh, I never use it in the dock. And, so those people do exist. But for those of us that use it as the hybrid, it's like, well, what am I going to do with this? Like,
it seems like it has a very limited use, which, as you say, there is an audience for that, and there are people that would get it for that, just literally as a 3DS replacement.
Yeah.
But I think removing that functionality is kind of cutting out a lot of other people that would have got it otherwise.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that would be like, oh yeah, I'll get that. And now it's like, well, there's no point. I would have to only use it for this.
It just seems like Nintendo's like, oh, we'll stop making a 3DS, and then a couple months later they're like, oh shit, we shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. I mean, I say, like, it does have its audience, and there is a sort of purpose. I mean, there are people getting angry with it, but this is basically just like the 2DS of the Switch era. It's a cheaper version designed for a very specific audience. People that think it would be neat, they can get it. People that don't will probably just stick with the regular one.
Well, and another thing to consider for me, I would prefer to have the original for my handheld playing because, I've got bigger hands. So I'm not going to want an even smaller device for the handheld.
I was going to say, the Joy-Cons are already small enough as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fairness as well, the smaller screen probably isn't going to work too well either. It's a neat idea, but I don't think it's done particularly well. I think they've made it a bit too limited. But we'll see. As I say, I'm not angry with it for existing or anything. It will certainly appeal to many people. It's certainly cheaper, at least. So, there's that.
I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people were just waiting for them to release a cheaper version. So for those people, yeah, this is it.
Yeah, exactly. But there we go. Right, I think it's time to move on now, and we'll get on to the main topic. Okay, so this month our conversation topic is all about kart racers. There have been many, many, many over the years, and you could argue that a lot of them are kind of clones of each other based on the original one. That's another thing. So yeah, I think a good place to start is probably like the original game. So the first kart racer that existed is Super Mario Kart, if I'm correct. Am I right, guys? Is that the first one? Or
It's
could
the
there
first
be
one I can think of.
It's odd because like there were other racing games before it.
but they were
You
more
know,
kind of normal racing games, like
well,
traditional?
because like I don't remember when F-Zero came out, but I think
F-Zero was a launch title for the SNES.
okay, so that would have been before Super Mario Kart, and then you have stuff like Pro-Am that Rare did, but those I think are closer to what we'd call simulation racers than kart racers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how would you actually define a kart racer as opposed to something like F-Zero or Pro-Am or even stuff like, I mean, like Micro Machines isn't really a serious racer, but then I wouldn't call it a kart racer.
I would say probably the more stylized art design and power-ups is
Yeah.
probably a decent indicator of a kart racer.
Definitely the vehicular combat's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interestingly, even though it's in the name, I don't think you necessarily need karts because obviously, a lot of the earlier ones were in karts, but then stuff like Sonic Racing and Sega Racing, they're just in regular cars, and yet I would call them kart racers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I think the traditional thing is, as you say, that more kind of cartoony style graphics and power-ups. But even like vehicular combat, there are other games like Extreme G, which involve vehicular combat.
Like
And I wouldn't
straight
call
up
it-
weapons being attached.
But
Yeah.
they would be more combat racers rather than kart racers.
Yeah, and like you have like the pod racing games where it's vehicular combat, but it's just ramming into each other.
Yeah, definitely. So I think maybe the thing that separates them is more that kind of, I suppose, that cartoony aesthetic, maybe. What would you say would differentiate a combat racer to a kart racer?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to, where's your combat coming from? So, like, Mario Kart and Diddy Kong Racing and all those others have items that you pick up along the way, whereas, you have the ones where you're adding on to the vehicle before the race or, where you're just ramming into each other. You get two different things there.
Yeah. Ryan,
Well,
you're familiar with Extreme G. Was Extreme G pickups or was that built into the vehicle?
That was pickups,
Oh, okay. Huh.
if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it was, but I'm not entirely sure.
But like, it'd almost be fair to say that kart racers are now a subgenre of just combat racers in general, because like you do have F-Zero, which is theoretically more of a high-speed racing simulator, but with combat elements.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the combat racer is kind of a bigger genre because you also get stuff like Twisted Metal and Vigilante.
Oh, yeah.
Or even stuff like Destruction Derby would be a combat racer because you destroy each other as you progress around. So yeah, probably it's more of a cartoony subgenre of the combat racer. I think that's a fair description.
I think it kind of like ties in more to the party game aspect kind of thing. The multiplayer thing is a big part of them, and it's just, like you said, cartoony, fun, that you can play with friends.
Here's a word we haven't said yet, mascots.
Yeah, they do tend to have quite, not necessarily contain mascots, but they tend to have more mascot style characters usually.
Well, and they also tend to revolve around various, like, whereas Twisted Metal and F-Zero created their own characters, all your main kart racers were based off of pre-existing IPs.
Right.
Sonic Racing pulled in all the Sonic characters. Mario Kart pulled in a whole ton of Mario characters from all these different Mario titles.
But then again, Diddy Kong Racing had some characters from pre-existing games, but a lot of them, like Conker and Banjo, didn't have their games until after. And then you've got characters who have never been in other games, like you had the chicken dude, the clock dude.
All right,
Like,
so there's actually a reason for the kind of weirdness of Diddy Kong Racing's characters. Diddy Kong Racing was originally being developed as basically a new version of Pro-Am Racing 10 years later. And when they showed it to Shigeru Miyamoto, he said, why not use the Diddy Kong character that you've just made a superstar and build the game around that? And when Banjo-Kazooie got delayed, they actually dumped everything into Diddy Kong Racing to get a game out for the holiday.
that's why you got things like Tip Top in there and
Right.
Banjo.
Tip Top, Pipsy, Timba, and Bumper are the characters from the original Pro-Am version of the game. Diddy and Crunch come from the Donkey Kong IP. Banjo and Conker had their games in development, so they stuck them in there. And then I guess Drumstick was also a Pro-Am.
Drumstick, that was his name.
Yeah.
It could have been from Pro-Am. I don't really remember Pro-Am. I think I've played a bit of it, but I don't remember the characters particularly well.
Well, and here's the thing, like all the characters from the Pro-Am version, like this is their first appearance. So like, you know, it's not like they were in another game and they used them. It's they were creating them
they
for
were
this
designed
game.
for Pro-Am. Okay.
Yeah. It's just that the Pro-Am game became Diddy Kong Racing.
All right.
Neat. I didn't know that about the game.
Yeah.
And I think another thing as well, like mascots is quite important, but I think what Matt said is about party is also quite important because party games, they tend to revolve around putting everyone on more of an equal footing.
Yes.
And I think with stuff like Extreme G, you just get weapons to kill other people. Whereas with something like, you know, for example, Mario Kart, people at the front will only get kind of items to help maintain their lead, like bananas and stuff like that, and quite crap items. Then the people far behind get more powerful weapons that will pull them further ahead. And so you get like a balance of different weapons to try and keep everyone on more of an equal footing so that the poorer players get better weapons to help them bring them up.
Yes.
And I think that's probably quite an important element that, you know, makes them quite distinctive from a normal combat racer.
Although some kart racers totally screw the pooch on that and just have everyone pulling from the same item pool with the same odds, no matter what you're positioning.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some of them do that. You know, like Lego races, for example, you've got like the different color power-ups, which are just placed on the track, and whoever gets them gets them.
Yeah.
Lego Racer did the whole like your power up and then your power up boosters.
Yeah.
And the power up boosters didn't regenerate until they were used. So if you were in first place and you could snag like the boost brick and then all of the power up bricks, you could just warp your way into infinity. No one could catch you.
Yeah.
Like it was super broken that way. Multiplayer Lego Racers was awful.
Yeah. Good in single player.
Oh yeah, I was playing that about, I want to say, end of last month I was playing that.
Yeah.
Beginning of this month. It's super good. It still holds up. It's really fun.
Yeah. Right. I think we're getting like a little bit ahead of ourselves. I think we've got some of the key elements of the genre down. So I think it's probably important to go right back to what we think the kind of start of the first true kart racer is Super Mario Kart.
I hear the very beginning is a good place to start.
It is. It's always a good place to start. So, Super Mario Kart. What does everyone think Super Mario Kart?
I enjoy Super Mario Kart, but I admit that it is a rough game for what it is. That is not a game that's going to be for everyone remotely. And
Yeah.
I don't begrudge a single person for hating the shit out of it.
Yeah, I have played a lot of Super Mario Kart. I had it as a kid, and I played it a whole lot. It was fun. I tended to drift towards the newer ones once they came out, because it's just, oh, this one's better.
I've played it quite a bit myself, and whilst it is fun, I find the controls a little bit too difficult. You really struggle on corners. I mean, even if you slow down or brake a little bit, you can still bump from one side of the track to the other just because of the control. Yeah. It's the same reason that I have problems with F-Zero as well, because F-Zero uses the exact same engine, and I have trouble controlling that as well.
I'm exactly the same. When it comes to 2D races, I just can't play them. As you say, with F-Zero and Super Mario Kart, whenever it comes to corners, I just struggle. They just come out of nowhere and I have difficulties.
Well,
It's always tough driving on a painting.
Yeah.
Well, exactly.
And honestly, with Super Mario Kart, if you're not constantly holding down your power slide button, you're playing it wrong. And that doesn't make it easier. It just makes the corners more manageable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it probably doesn't help that when I got into racing games, it was on the N64. Like I played F1 World Grand Prix and then Diddy Kong Racing and Beetle Adventure Racing and, a bunch of different N64 racing titles. And that was when I got into the genre. So I wasn't really familiar with any racing game other than, I don't know, maybe Road Rash, I suppose. So when it came to going to these 2D races like Super Mario Kart, I just didn't have that sort of muscle memory for it. I didn't know how to deal with them, and I just struggled. And as such, I didn't really have fun.
It is a difficult game to get to grips with if you are used to more modern kind of like control methods, but it is still the progenitor of the genre, and it contains the building blocks for better games that came after it.
And
Yeah.
worse games.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
in fairness, when it comes to those 2D racing games, I was thinking of another one that I, have a bit of familiarity with, and that's Outrun. Like, I never have that many problems with Outrun. Like, sometimes I do, sometimes the corners come out of nowhere, but it doesn't seem as bad in that.
Outrun is generally a slower paced game. I mean, you are still going fairly fast in Outrun, but you have a wider road, you can make wider turns, and you're not having people shooting shells at you all the time. It doesn't have as sensitive a control system as Super Mario Kart does.
Yeah, I think it's more to do with the control system. I mean, games like Sonic Drift, for example, they seem like a rip-off of things like Super Mario Kart, but there's no power-ups. And I still have the same problems, so it's not necessarily the stress of the items, I think. I think it's mainly to do with the control scheme more than anything and how it's designed.
Yeah, I mean, both of those first two Mario Kart games, Super Mario Kart and Super Mario Kart Super Circuit on the GBA, you can get some fun out of them, but for me, it didn't get really good until Mario Kart 64.
Actually, wait, wouldn't 64 have come out before Super Circuit?
Yeah, but Super Circuit was the same style.
Okay.
I thought Super Circuit was the second one in the series. It might be the third.
Who's the third or the fourth one in this series? Super Circuit come out before or after Double Dash?
I'm not sure.
I'll Google this.
I mean, all the Mario Karts are the fucking same anyway, so it doesn't matter.
With the exception of Double Dash, it's the only one that's like substantially different.
Yeah.
It is, but it's also kind of the same. I mean, you've got like the item mechanic and the partner switching, and obviously it's more based around the karts and the characters, but it is still effectively Mario Kart. It's more inventive than Mario Kart has ever been, but it's still essentially Mario Kart.
But that core gameplay that was introduced with Mario Kart 64, which they have kept up with over the years, that is solid. I mean, Mario Kart 64 is my second favourite Mario Kart game after 8. And yeah, they do play kind of the same, but the control, the sense of fun, it's all still there. It's all got those same building blocks that kind of started with Mario Kart 64.
That's true. However, I do feel that because those gameplay mechanics are solid, both in terms of the power-ups and how it controls and things like that, that they can then put their time and effort into other things, and they don't. You pretty much have the same character roster. You're playing very similar levels all the time. They never really have much more than Grand Prix mode. Occasionally you've got things like battle mode and stuff, but they're relatively minimal. If you compare Mario Kart with things like, Diddy Kong Racing or Crash Team Racing or Sega Racing, they just have so much content in there, which if you compare to Mario Kart seems quite lazy by comparison.
I don't know, Mario Kart 8 has a lot of characters.
Yeah.
I mean, you've even got like Link in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've got like Link added later, but Link wasn't in there from the start.
No, that was DLC.
And exactly. But like a lot of the characters were very similar. Like you've got like all the Koopa kids. And all
We didn't need all 7.
You've got a big character roster, but I would say a lot of them are very similar to each other. So it isn't as big as you think it is. It's not like you've got all these unique characters. Like a lot of them are kind of the same.
Well, it's not that huge of a roster for me because I only play as Cat Peach exclusively. But still, in terms of kind of like character choice, yeah, there may be a lot that are similar, but there is still a lot of choice there. I mean, bear in mind that Mario Kart 8 on the Switch has all the DLC, so you do have that huge roster in the base game without having to buy anything extra.
That's true. But, like the Switch game is a full price game, and it's basically a part of the Wii U game, but with the extras. I don't suppose containing the DLC is that much of a big thing when you're charging full price for it. Going back to Super Mario Kart, I mean, you mentioned that in Mario Kart 8 you play as Cat Peach. So
Yes.
do you play as Peach in Super Mario Kart?
Generally, in the earlier ones, I'll choose Toad, just because he's faster.
Obligatory Wahoo.
Yeah, I mean, in 64, it was just disgusting how much better Toad was than everybody else.
He was real quick.
Yeah, I mean, like, as far as I'm aware, I think, like, in 64, Toad and Peach were pretty similar in terms of speed. And as such, I used to opt for Peach in Mario 64, so I went for Peach in Super Mario Kart as well.
One thing that is actually quite fun as well, with the big characters, if you do like a speed boost off the starting line, if there's a small character in front of you, you can just flatten him straight off.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I know in Super Mario Kart, Koopa is objectively the best character. He has like the best average speed, and his cornering is unparalleled. So if you want to win GPs, play Koopa, like the Koopa Troopa.
All right, I wasn't aware of that.
Now you know, and knowing is half the battle.
Yeah. So what did you think of the tracks as well in Super Mario Kart? They kind of disappointed me. I didn't think many of them were very good. I think a lot of them felt bland. Like for a lot of them, there was kind of two textures, the track, the background. There were a couple of courses that had like background scenery, but a lot of them just felt empty.
Yeah, I think that's kind of down to the engine. I mean, it's not proper 3D, it's like a faux 3D kind of effect.
Yeah.
And everything is just flat. You've obviously got tiny little bits of scenery off to the side, like the pipes and that, which are slightly higher, but the entire track otherwise is just completely flat. And there's not a lot you can do artistically. They could have put more detailed backgrounds in there, but I feel that would have slowed the game down to the point where playing multiplayer is just not going to be possible with a hyper-detailed kind of environment.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, once you get up to the more powerful consoles, that's something that they can actually do.
Yeah.
I
And
mean, we all know there's only one track in the game that matters, and that's Rainbow Road.
yeah.
Test your stuff.
Yeah, but the thing is, on the 2D one, in the original game, it's quite infuriating, again, because of the controls and the corners and stuff.
You mean the lack of corners? Oh no, the lack of walls on the corners is what I'm trying to get
The
at.
lack of walls, yeah. So when you take in the corners, it's like, oh, I've gone off again.
Well, and also the track's really tiny too, so that only makes everything worse.
Yeah.
And as I say, it's disappointing. Matt's right. It's probably more to do with like, keeping the game running at a decent speed. But it also means that the game's dated quite badly. So you go back to it and you kind of think the courses are bland. You can't see the corners and stuff. Why am I playing this and not the latest Mario Kart?
It's another one where this game is important because of what it led to.
Yeah. We certainly got many Mario Kart style clones. Even in the 2D era, we had things like Street Racer, which was on the Saturn, and I think it was on the Sega CD or something like that as well, or 32X or one of them, which was just a weird kind of 2D racer. You had Sonic Drift, which I mentioned. Any more I'm missing from the 2D era?
What was the name of that Blizzard one? Rock and Roll Racing.
Oh,
Was that a 2D one or a 3D one?
That was a isometric 3D one, I believe.
Could have been. I remember the name, but I can't picture it.
I mean, there was a whole bunch of like bad clones too. Wacky Wheels, Scunny Kart.
I can think of way more 3D kart racer clones than 2D.
Yeah.
But that was probably more to do with how much Mario Kart 64 kind of ups the game.
Yeah, Mario Kart 64 was a big landmark.
I think, for me, one of the main reasons that Mario Kart 64 was a big improvement is that you could actually see where you're going and you could actually do stuff. And it just felt like a game you could actually play rather than just a game that you're just getting constantly frustrated. Again, going back to the whole party game thing, it felt like something you could play and enjoy with friends rather than just struggle to make it through the track, which is how I felt it was in Super Mario Kart.
Yeah, when I was younger, me and a friend played countless hours of Mario Kart 64. There's a very specific music CD that we would put on. We'd just mute the music and just put this other music CD on, and we would spend hours just doing GPs, and it was a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah, me and my brother were the same thing. We just played a shitload of Mario Kart 64. Lots of battle mode.
Yeah.
We tried to kind of like focus our attention on the AI races, but if one of us accidentally hit the other, then it was on. You know, that was it. We were like after each other.
Yeah, I played some Mario Kart 64 with my friends, but for us, I think that Diddy Kong Racer was the one that stuck with us and the one that we kept on replaying, which was, you know, like probably the big kind of kart racer clone for the N64.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even go as far as to call it a clone.
Well, cloning in regards, it's a kart racer.
Yeah.
It's definitely taking Mario Kart as inspiration, but it very much did its own thing. Like the adventure mode in particular was very unique, and for me, the adventure mode kind of makes it one of the most robust kart races, even to this day, just because there's so much to it, and you know, it's fantastic. The only gripe I have about Diddy Kong Racing is that the items are kind of shit.
Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that Diddy Kong Racing did was it was very much about balance. So, you know, with the items being more balanced, it came more down to skill. So, you know, if you're playing with someone who's really, really good, you're going to get smoked every time. Whereas in Mario Kart, you can use items to wreak havoc and come back from almost certain death.
Yeah.
Thank you, Blue Shell.
Yeah.
Don't thank the Blue Shell.
The whoop whoop whoops that will haunt my dreams forever.
Mm-hmm. Only if you're in first.
Right.
If you're no good at Mario Kart, then that will never be a worry.
Anybody else do the trick in Mario Kart where you're in first place and you hear the blue shell coming, so you just smash the brakes and pull off to the side?
Back
Someone
in
else
second
over
place.
Yeah, that's always a good trick.
It was Mario Kart 64 when I was a kid that I learned what happens if you get a blue shell, go to first, and then fire the blue shell. It gets you. And it doesn't even loop, at least in Mario Kart 64, it just didn't even loop the track. It just shot out about 100 feet ahead and was like, wait a minute, and just boom.
This is an easy journey.
You son of a bitch.
But yeah, we got like quite a few clones though, especially from competitors. It's sort of weird because back then, you know, Sega was the big competitor, but they never really made a 3D kart racing clone. Like, I can't think of one. Like, the first time they did it was in the modern era, when they stopped being a competitor to Nintendo. Am I right in thinking that?
It might be due to the fact that I don't think a game like that would have ran well on the Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
But then again, they did try with pretty much every possible, like, Nintendo franchise that was popular. They had their own variation of it. Like Zelda, you had, like, Legend of Oasis and things like that. Then obviously, because of Mario, you got Alex Kidd and then Sonic. They did try and create their own equivalent, but I don't think they even bothered with Mario Kart until the later era. Maybe, as you say, it's to do with speed, but I think it would have been able to.
I think it also may have come down to, like we said, how many there were. Like, they would have looked at it and said, okay, this is already getting saturated. We'll probably just get lost in the shuffle.
But then again, I mean, like, we kind of mentioned about the Mega Drive not being able to run it, but if you're comparing to N64, really you should be looking at Saturn and Dreamcast.
Yeah.
And they didn't do one on there either. I say, like, Sonic R is probably the closest, but that's just a racing game.
At least like the 32X.
Yeah, but there was nothing. I mean, PlayStation had its own. They had Crash Team Racing, so they attempted their kart racing clone.
I mean, 32X would have been pointless anyway for like the 5 people that actually owned that console.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, moving on to Crash Team Racing, I think now's a good time to talk about it. I think Crash Team Racing is more of a Diddy Kong Racing clone more than Mario Kart after having played it. Because, the adventure mode is definitely riffing off more of Diddy Kong Racing than it is with Mario Kart. I mean, it's probably trying to emulate Mario Kart's success more. But I think in terms of how they approached making the game, I think they maybe took more inspiration from the likes of Diddy Kong. Because she had like the stackable items, with the powered up versions, the adventure mode. What do you reckon?
Well, I've not really played much Diddy Kong Racing, apart from when I was a kid. So I don't really have that comparison, but I can say that CTR was, maybe still is, my favourite kart racer. I'd say maybe it's on a par with Mario Kart 8 for me.
Yeah.
Purely because I, again, played it so much as a kid. And even though I'm not really invested in the Crash characters, because I've never really been into the series as a whole, I just found Crash Team Racing like so much fun, especially in multiplayer. Get a friend round and just, it's a brilliant party game.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, when it comes to Mario Kart clones, I definitely think that Crash Team Racing is definitely one of the better ones. So I can see why it would be like one of your favourite kart races, especially if you've not played Diddy Kong Racing. After playing Diddy Kong Racing, though, I kind of feel like it's an inferior version of that.
I mean, yeah, it's really, which set of characters are you more invested in? Because if you're not like super invested in the Crash characters, then there's not a lot of pull there for you.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really like any of the characters. When it came to the character selection, I looked at all of them and I thought, I don't want to play as any of these. In the end, I went as the mad scientist guy.
Engine, that is the only character that I play as in Crash Team Racing for some reason.
I thought it was Cortez or Cortex or whatever it's called.
Oh,
Neocortex.
Yeah, there's you've got Neocortex as kind of like the main bad guy of the Crash series. He is kind of like a mad scientist guy, but you've also got Engine, which is like another kind of mad scientist guy. He's the guy with all the robotic stuff attached to him.
Yeah, I ended up going with Cortex. I didn't know Engine was like the best one.
It's just my favourite.
All right. I just went for Cortex. I thought, okay, he'll do.
I mean, I always play as Crash.
You sell out.
I really don't like Crash. Like, I don't like the Crash game. So when it came to playing it, it was like, I don't want to play as this motherfucker. Screw him.
Wow!
Exactly. So yeah, I just kind of lumped with the character instead. But, aside from that, they did put a lot of effort with the adventure mode and everything, and I do think the levels are pretty good. I can't think of any track that I would say is bad. I think the worst of the tracks are just the, like the basic circuits where there's nothing much to them.
Yeah.
There is one track that I absolutely hate, and I can't remember the name of it. It's one of the 2 snow levels. You go up a ramp, and there's penguins kind of like crisscrossing to either side, and if you get your jump perfect, you can leap over this like wall that's there. Otherwise, you've got to go around it. I cannot remember the name of the level, but I do not like that level. But I pretty much love all the others.
Yeah, I think I liked that one. I remember one of the snow ones I liked, and could have been that one. I don't think I ever tried jumping over the wall, so I just went around it regardless. But yeah, I sort of enjoyed most of the levels in terms of their actual design. I didn't have a fun time playing it, but that was more of a different reason. But yeah, I think the tracks all in all were pretty good. Like the pyramid one, I thought was particularly fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the aesthetics of the airship one, just because I'm quite into like steampunk and that kind of aesthetic. So seeing those big airships makes me happy.
My favourite one is probably the pyramid one.
Yeah, the pyramid. It's not very big. It's not like a massive level or anything, but it's pretty cool.
I'm trying to think what my favorite level would be. I'm not even sure. Huh.
Yeah, I mean, like most of them are relatively solid. The other ones maybe kind of a bit more forgettable. Like there was one in the sewers. So that one was all right. I can't really think of any that I would say are bad. There are stuff that are just kind of there and are fine, but there are no bad tracks.
I'm trying to think. I may not have ever gotten to the end of the adventure mode. Because I mean, like when I play these games, if it's got the adventure mode, that's basically what I play. Because I don't have a lot of people to play these games with. But trying to think. I don't know that I've ever gotten to the end of Crash's Adventure Mode, because there's a lot of extra stuff to do in Crash's Adventure Mode.
Yeah.
That is one of the things that kind of like sets it apart from the Mario Kart series, is that each of the tracks also has a relic race.
And the CTR challenge.
Yeah, so the relic race, you've got to get a certain amount of relics, and each relic you get gives you additional time. Well, it doesn't give you additional time, it kind of like pauses the clock.
Yeah, it stops the clock.
And you've got to get to the end in like a certain time. And CTR mode is kind of like the normal race, but you have to get 3 crates with the letter CTR in them, which are often hidden quite well. And to 100% the game, you have to get like gold on all of that.
Yeah, I mean, there are quite a few different modes. Like, you've got bosses and stuff in the adventure mode as well, like with Diddy Kong Racing. They do vary things up a lot more than the likes of Mario Kart.
Yeah, there's also a special track in each area that's like you gather up purple crystals for the purple CTR coin.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pain in the ass.
There's a right pain in the ass. There's a lot of variety in what you can do in Crash. It's just it's not as solid as Diddy Kong Racing is.
Yeah. I mean, I know you like it, Matt, quite a lot. It's one of your favourite racing games. But, Ryan and Steve, what were your opinions then? Did you enjoy your time with it?
I mean, yeah, I enjoy the game. I intend to continue playing it. But I mean, I think the fact that I'm playing Diddy Kong Racing right now kind of tells you what my preference is.
I wasn't able to get my hands on Diddy Kong Racing. I wasn't able to find a used copy. That's like Diddy Kong, I meant Crash. Anywhere. It's because it's a disc game. I want to be able to like see it to make sure it's not all mauled up.
Right.
And I was going to go play the reboot, and I ended up having to work super early the next morning, so I wasn't able to go out and basically burn my entire evening playing Refueled. So I'm having to run a lot off of memory because I played it a long time ago at my friend's house. And I recall enjoying it quite a bit, but at the same time, I was pretty young. I'm like, oh, this is really fun, but it's just a Mario Kart clone because that's all I knew at the time.
Yeah.
I think going back and being able to view it in older eyes, I would appreciate it more than I remember.
Yeah.
Because it was honestly a very good looking, like the original was a very good looking game.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It was quite smooth. I do recall there being the adventure mode, but I didn't get to play that. We just, raced each other. I also have much more vivid memories of Diddy Kong Racing, which I just picked up, and I'm going to sink some time into that. I would say that even as a kid, I enjoyed Diddy Kong Racing more.
Yeah, me too. I mean, for me, like Crash Team Racing, I didn't think it was a bad game in terms of like the level design, but I didn't enjoy my time with it. And there was one major thing that I thought was a problem. I mean, it could just be me because I'm not very big on the genre, but I thought the difficulty was screwed up.
It is really hard.
I played on normal, and I just couldn't get anywhere. Like, you pretty much have to be perfect, and you have to drift perfect, and you have to be really good. And if you switch it down to easy, it then becomes like really easy. So like I had to play through it on easy mode, but then there was very little challenge. So I kind of found myself getting a little bit bored of it. But then playing on normal is just so obnoxiously difficult, where it was just like, there's no point in playing on this because I'm going to play like this first level and that is it.
Yeah.
What system did you play on?
I played a little bit on the Switch.
Because I was going to say the PlayStation version, in my opinion, has kind of like perfect difficulty. I can get through that game. It's a challenge, but not too much of a challenge. I have been playing the remake of it, and that exact same complaint that you had there is what I found with the remake.
When I first played, it was on the Switch version. I played a friend's version, and I played on the normal difficulty. It was really hard. So when I emulated it, I played the PS1 version and did on easy. So maybe I should just try playing on normal on the PS1.
The difficulty settings in that remake are very out of whack, and it kind of ruins the experience for me. I would say if you really want to play Crash Team Racing and you've got a PlayStation 3, get it on the PS Store. Don't bother with the remake. I mean, the remake does have value, it's not kind of like something that you can't overcome, the difficulty, but for me it is a bit too much night and day between the normal and the easy difficulty. There's too much of a difference there.
Yeah.
Whereas
I mean,
I
you're
think
struggling-
you'll get a better experience with the PlayStation version.
I mean, it says a lot if you're struggling with it, and it's like one of your favourite childhood games. If you're struggling with normal mode, then I ain't got a fucking chance. So,
Yeah.
It's fairly cheap on the PS Store. I think
yeah.
it's like $7.99 in the UK. So, just get that instead of the remake.
Well, honestly, I'm not massive into races, to be honest. So I don't think I'll bother. I mean, I don't have a PlayStation 3 or any kind of PlayStation, but yeah, I don't think I'd be interested in playing either the original or the remake again, to be honest. There's only like a couple of races that I actually want to play again.
Yeah, but if they released an HD remake of Beetle Adventure Racing, you'd buy that thing twice.
Yeah, I'd be all over that. Beetle Adventure Racing and Diddy Kong Racing, I can go back to those quite easily. But other racing games, I can kind of take them or leave them, to be honest.
I don't know where you'd classify BAR, because it's like supposed to be a simulation, but then you can do like 360s and there's a battle mode, and that's a weird one.
Yeah, it's very odd. It's definitely a cartoony kind of racer.
Yeah,
But
not a kart racer.
it's not a kart racer or not a combat racer, but it's not really a serious racer either.
Maybe we'll dedicate an
Adventure
episode to
Racing,
that.
The Beetle Adventure Racing game. And that's pretty much how you classify it.
That's the genre. It has not been repeated, has not been it copied no one, it has not been copied. There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right, now, before we close off the topic, I think we've gone over it a fair bit. Does anyone want to mention any of the more modern ones before we move on?
Mario Kart 8 is the big one
Yeah.
because it's basically like the ultimate refinement of the formula.
Yeah, I mean, Mario Kart 8 is good, but for me, it's just a shinier version of Mario Kart 64.
Right.
You've got more characters, you've got more tracks, but you've still kind of got the same tracks. You've still got, DK's jungle, and you've still got Bowser's castle, and you've still got essentially the same tracks.
For me, that's exactly what I was looking for. I
But-
wanted a shinier version of the same gameplay experience, basically.
Well, and there is also it's actually a feature of the later Mario Kart games that you have remade versions of the older tracks.
Yeah. I'd say I just find with the new Mario Kart ones, because they do tend to be just updated versions, that they're sort of like the FIFA of racing games,
Right.
where they don't really do anything special. They just update, they make it look a little prettier. They might tweak some things, but otherwise it's essentially just the same game, but for another year.
Well,
I mean,
8,
they don't release as often as FIFA, obviously, but,
I feel like Mario Kart 8 is a little different because it brought together the disparate experiments they tried with other ones. So, you had the glider thing in 7 that they brought into 8, and you had...
stuff like that. They do have some additional stuff, but I think as far as the series has come between Mario Kart 64 and Mario Kart 8 isn't a lot. They have added some kind of more experimental stuff, but it's not really as, robust as other games. Considering
Right.
Diddy Kong 64 came out in the same generation as Mario Kart 64, I feel that there's a bigger leap between that and Mario Kart 64 than there is between Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 64.
Yeah.
Personally, I just kind of think they could do a little bit more, especially to single play, just to add a little bit more to it. Even if it's just like a Grand Prix mode that had boss fights or something, or some variations where instead of racing, you're collecting coins, or just something else. Even
So
if it's,
Diddy Kong Racing.
well, yeah. Or even like Sonic Racing. Like in the Sonic Racing games, they have like a sort of Grand Prix where you go through a series of racing games, but then some are one-on-one, some you do drifting challenges, and it's just got some other things just for something else. If you don't want races against a group of other cars, then that's all there is to it. Because the single player mode and the multiplayer mode it's still essentially doing the same thing. But one is the computer, one is against humans. And that's it. I mean, it's fine if you like that kind of thing. I just feel like because they're refining at this point, they should really put in the extra effort to add some extra content, because they're not really having to do as much new stuff because they're just refining the old stuff each time.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're being a little bit lazier than they could be. That's my issue with Mario Kart.
Well, and like in DS, they had the challenge mode, where you had all sorts of crazy, you had all these different challenges, and then a boss race of some sort, or even a boss fight, and that was a lot of fun. And they never did it again.
Yeah, and I feel like they could just add that kind of stuff and just have it as like an extra mode or just something, you know? I mean, the Mario Kart games are still good and they are played. You know, I mean, like Mario Kart 8 is a port of a Wii U game and it came out the Switch's launch and loads of people are still playing it. So there is a good reason that people are playing it. But I also kind of feel like that they've got to a point where they feel like everyone's going to buy it. We don't need to put in more effort than necessary. And they just churn it out like, you know, sports games.
Well, next is going to be Mario Kart Ultimate. Every kart, every track.
Every track's the fucking same anyway in the games. If they did that, they're having like 10 different tracks that are all essentially the same. But yeah, I mean, like Mario Kart, when it went into 3D, it did kind of solidify its mechanics pretty fast. And even though it hasn't changed much, mechanically speaking, I don't think it needs to change.
Yeah.
I mean, like they added the anti-gravity in 8, but honestly, because the screen turns with you,
it's not like it really created crazy.
It doesn't change the gameplay like at all. It's just sometimes it's cool that you do the anti-gravity and you're going like up a waterfall or whatever. And it's like, oh, that's kind of cool when you look. Now I need to concentrate on my kart to make sure I don't crash.
Right.
But there we go. And aside from that, I mean, there's the Sonic games, but I think they've kind of jumped the shark at this point. You know, they went really all out with Transformed and created something really special with, you know, all these Sega characters, all these courses. You had like the different transport, which I suppose again is like Diddy Kong Racing with the boats and the planes.
Yeah, the difference with Transformed is that it was changing between them mid-race.
I mean, they really went all out with that, and Transformed is potentially my favourite kart racer. Maybe. I'm not sure if I prefer Diddy Kong Racing to it, but it's definitely up there. And then after that, they just did Sonic Team Racing or whatever it was called.
Yeah, that new one.
Which is like, okay, we're going to remove all these characters. We're just going to place Sonic friends in it. We're going to have a team racing mechanic that's kind of just okay. You don't have the other vehicles. You got all courses which are kind of similar because they're all based on Sonic levels. I don't know what they were thinking with that.
I have no idea what they're thinking there. But I think it is important to mention really quick, because we forgot to say it, potentially one of the worst kart racers made was South Park.
South Park Rally. Shit.
South Park Rally.
Oh, I never played that one.
It's rough.
It wasn't even like a proper racing game from what I remember. It was weird because you did like stuff in it. It wasn't even like a traditional racer where you just went around a track.
I mean, there was going around the track, but it was just a weird fucking game, and it kind of hurt to look at a little bit too. And the fact that they didn't call it South Kart seems like a
missed opportunity.
Yeah, missed opportunity.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad game, but I think the N64 South Park games weren't exactly the best.
Oh, I played South Park Rally on PlayStation.
Well, I mean, that kind of era. I didn't have a PlayStation, so I'm just familiar with the N64 versions, but I think all of them, like South Park 64, the first-person shooter, and Chef's Love Shack, I think they were all on the PlayStation.
I have both of those for the N64. I don't have South Park Rally, but the other two are terrible.
I mean, Chef's Love Shack I did enjoy back in the day. Like, some of the mini-games were okay, and like the quiz at the time I kind of thought was interesting, you know, less so now. But going back to it, it's pretty bad. And South Park 64, it would be okay if it wasn't so repetitive. If you weren't fighting the same enemy again and again and again in hordes.
Yeah, it's just turkeys constantly.
Well, it's turkeys constantly. And then the next level is another enemy constantly. It's like zombie stuff constantly, and then it's like robots or whatever.
Anyway, that's I just wanted to make sure that we all knew about the worst kart game ever made.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Right, anyone else have anything new to say about kart races? I think we've pretty much covered them in depth.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll take a break and then we'll go into our specialist topics. So we'll see you then.
Okay, so we're moving on to the specialist subjects, and my Doom mod of the month is kind of not really a mod, but it is kind of. It's essentially a standalone game that utilizes the Doom engine, and that game is Sonic Robo Blast 2 Kart.
That's a mouthful.
It is. There is a game called Sonic Robo Blast 2, which is a fan game made in the Doom engine, like a 3D Sonic game. It's not brilliant, honestly, but it's okay. And they then released a kart version of it, kind of like an update to it, which is a kart game. It's kind of like online only. You can do time attack in single player, but that's the only mode that you can do. But weirdly, for a mod, and one that came out like several years ago, there are actually still people playing online, and I was able to get a few matches. As you can imagine, it's a Sonic game. You don't have the biggest roster. You've got Sonic, Knuckles, Tails. I think those are the original ones that you can choose. I think the other ones might be unlockable, because I'm sure I was playing against someone earlier on playing as Amy Rose. But you can still get games, and it's odd playing a kart racing game in the Doom engine. They do actually utilize it really well. Graphically, it does kind of like still have that Doom pixely look to it, but it does play really well. You can play with a controller. It's got full controller support, and it is kind of smooth. I mean, you can tell that it's a fan-made game. You're not going to get the same kind of gameplay as you're going to get from Mario Kart and stuff like that. But if you're looking for something free, potentially quite illegal, because they're using Sega's copyright, then this is something that you can actually still get a lot of fun of, and there is still active communities playing it as well. You can download it for free from their website. Just type in Sonic Robo Blast 2. That'll take you to the website, and you're able to download the original game from there, and you can download the kart version from there as well. They're separate installs, basically. And it's just something a little bit different, and it's one of only two things that I could find that were kart related for Doom. The other one just looks so bad that I didn't even want to look at it, so I didn't. It's just called Doom Kart, and it looks terrible. But this one is actually pretty decent, so check it out.
Cool. I mean, you mentioned about like Sega's copyright, but they're not like Nintendo. I don't think Sega really care. They're just like, yeah, go for it, have fun. I mean, at the end of the day, it's no worse than like, you know, the stuff the Sonic fan base do with their drawings. I don't think they can necessarily ruin their characters anymore. So I think at this moment they're just like, you do what you want with it, whatever gets you off.
I should point out as well, it does also have a complete original soundtrack, which you can also download from the site.
That's neat.
Which is actually quite good.
Nice one. I'll have to look at a video on that. I mean, I won't download the mod because I can't be bothered, but I'll definitely check out a video. It sounds pretty interesting. So what was the name of it again? Sorry, it was
Sonic Robo Blast 2 Kart. Or the original game is just Sonic Robo Blast 2, but that's not very good.
Cool. Right, well, as for mine, my Pokemon game this month is sort of related to the topic again. We covered racing games, so I thought I'd go for Pokemon Dash. I mean, that's the closest thing the series ever got to a racing game, I suppose. So it was released on the back end of 2004 on the Nintendo DS. As such, it was one of those early releases. And it was not made by Game Freak. It was by a company called Umbrella. Now, if you're wondering who the hell they are, that's exactly what I thought as well. I have no idea what other games they've done. And honestly, after playing Pokemon Dash, I don't really care, because Pokemon Dash isn't very good. So, you know, it's an early DS game. So as you might expect, you use the stylus controls for the most part. What you do is you control Pikachu, and like only Pikachu, and you need to swipe in the direction of the various checkpoints until you reach the goal. So you're controlling how it moves using the stylus. And the faster you swipe, the faster it runs. So that's how you gain speed in it. As you can imagine, like a lot of people have damaged their screen by swiping a little bit too rough. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the entire game. You just swipe towards a checkpoint, you clear the set of checkpoints, and you shoot up into the sky and you parachute to the next area, which is kind of fun because you have to land on the first checkpoint. So it's sort of like a bit of a skydive, which is neat. And then you just keep on running using the stylus again. I mean, all the courses kind of look the same, but you know, everything's so zoomed in that all you can see is Pikachu and grass. And that's basically it. I mean, it's very repetitive and kind of mind-numbing. You can only choose one character, as far as I'm aware. I mean, maybe you can choose more in multiplayer, but, you know, I didn't have a chance to play that because they've shut down multiplayer now for DS. So maybe you can pick the other characters, but, you know, I mean, who's going to play as Munchlax? I mean, Munchlax has got a speed of 5 in the Pokemon games, so I really doubt anyone would choose that or it would be any good. But yeah, I mean, it's a sort of racing game. It's, you know, not necessarily the best of Pokemon spin-off games, but it exists and it's a racing game, so that's why I've covered it.
I've just had a look at the list of games that Umbrella have actually produced, and it is exclusively Pokemon spin-off games. There's about 10. They did Hey You Pikachu for N64, Pokemon Channel
Which
for
was
game.
broken. Hey You Pikachu was broken. Like it, you pretty much talked to Pikachu and it just didn't work. Okay. You say
They-
Pokemon Channel, which was just a bunch of like movies and stuff to watch. What else have they done? So far, so good.
Pokemon Dash for DS, My Pokemon Ranch, WiiWare,
That doesn't sound good. I've never heard of it.
Pokemon Rumble, WiiWare,
I don't think that was supposed to be good.
Pokemon Rumble Blast for 3DS,
Again, I'm not really sure about that one, but there you go.
Pokemon Rumble U for Wii U. I've got Pokemon Rumble World for 3DS, and the most recent one, which came out this year, is Pokemon Rumble Rush, which is an Android game.
So basically, they did a bunch of garbage spin-off titles, and then the Pokemon Rumble games, which, you know, are getting sequels, so maybe they're okay. But I don't really hear people talking about them, so
Well, there are 5 of them.
there are 5 of them, so they must be popular enough.
Yeah.
But I never really hear Pokemon fans talking about them. I mean, people talk about stuff like Ranger and Mystery Dungeon, but nobody talks about playing Rumble, so I can't imagine they're that popular.
Pokemon Ranch was actually a good piece of software. It was basically Pokemon Bank, but you know,
so
it was a first pass at it.
There was like a utility type thing.
Yeah, it was also a way to get Mew in the newer games without an event.
Okay. Right, so yeah, they've basically done like utility software like Channel and Ranch.
Yeah.
Then they did a couple of really shit Pokemon spin-off titles and then the Rumble games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, definitely not a company to watch then, I take it.
Nah.
Right, well, that's my game. There's nothing really much to say about it. I say it's not really got a lot of variation. It's not very fun. I wouldn't really recommend it, and I'm only really talking about it because it's the closest I could get to a racing game. So there it is.
All right, so for mine, I am once again talking about Kingdom Hearts because this series has gotten fucking bonkers with the different things they've added to it over the years. Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, it was the game on the PSP, has a section of it that is basically just Mario Kart. I don't remember if there's power-ups, but I know it's racing, and I'm pretty sure there's boosters and stuff. But yeah, so there is actually a racing minigame in Kingdom Hearts.
So what do you do in the racing minigame?
It's just racing, but I mean, it's pretty basic.
Is
nowhere
it
near as
vehicular or is it like on foot?
It's vehicles, because each of the characters has they have a set of armor that also comes with a vehicle. So you race in, you know, whichever character's vehicle, and it's definitely not as refined as an actual racing game. But you know, for a one-off mini game on the PSP, it's not bad. It's not
unbearable to play, which some racing minigames can get that way.
You would have thought, kind of like semi-connected to the Kingdom Hearts series, you would have thought that Toy Story would be a prime property to have as a kart racing game.
Toy Story Racers, I think,
there
exists.
is one, is there? Oh, right.
Let me check. I'm pretty sure it exists. Yes, Toy Story Racer by Disney Pixar. Game Boy Color, Vita, PlayStation 3. Those later ones are probably ports of the PS1 version. But yeah, there you go. Toy Story Racer.
Cool.
Yeah, it was probably shit, to be honest, but I couldn't either.
The PlayStation version received generally favorable reviews. Sits at it's got a 8.2 from IGN. So not horrible, but just not really all that noteworthy.
So probably just a forgettable one that was enjoyable, but when you finished with it.
Yeah. Serviceable, but not necessarily groundbreaking.
Cool.
One day I'll play the Kingdom Hearts games. I don't know when, but I'll muscle my way through them.
I know we'll have to cover one eventually on the podcast, so that'll be the first and probably last time I play a Kingdom Hearts game, I reckon. But we'll see. Maybe I'll like it.
I mean, I'm definitely gonna try and give you guys the best of the bunch when we go into it. So,
Okay, nice one. So Ryan, you're up then.
Thematically, could have covered an arcade machine, but arcade machines are arcade machines. So let's talk about the console that is possibly the fastest failure ever, and that would be the Apple Bandai Pippin. And that is Apple as in iPhone, Macintosh computers, Apple.
Not as in like the fruit.
Yeah, no, as in the fruit. It was just a fucking Granny Smith with a CD-ROM drive. That probably would have sold better, honestly, because this thing was really weird. I mean, you might want to pull up a picture of the controller because it looks like a boomerang. It was released in mid-1996. It was marketed at $600, which is about $1,000 in 2019 dollars. So it was super duper expensive. It got almost no software. It was a really weird project on Apple's part because they kind of wanted to jump into the market, but like it was pretty thoroughly saturated at the time with Sega, PlayStation, and Nintendo. And then you had Xbox about to jump on the bandwagon in 4 years. So Microsoft was probably in early development at this point. It was going to be a home console. It was going to be kind of a multimedia home computer. It tried to be a lot of things and it did none of it well. The price point absolutely did not help. Apple did no marketing for it. Bandai had to do all the marketing. They spent a lot of money trying to pitch the thing. And Apple was going to do their computers, and then they wanted to run this on the side and market them together, and they just like instantly dropped it. I don't know if they knew that it was going to fail or they just changed their minds, but it did bad. It sold under 50,000 units.
Looking at the console, it actually looks fairly decent. Apart from the D-pad on the controller, that looks very unresponsive.
Yeah, it looks really bad. But you notice there's a trackball in the middle of that weird boomerang because it was also supposed to double as a computer. I believe that it had Ethernet support. I think I might be wrong there because I know it had a modem. But yeah, it got almost no software. Like it got Marathon, Super Marathon. North America got the most releases. Like Europe got a demo CD and a medical reference piece of software, not even a game. Japan got 4 releases of just random stuff. And yeah, the US got Marathon. That's really all that mattered from there. Demo CD and just some weird shit. It was a bad console. It's almost not fair to call it a console because it wasn't really marketed. It was marketed as one, but it wasn't marketed just as a whole. But definitely a different and interesting piece of gaming history. I don't know how much they go for now. Probably a lot because so few of them were sold and made.
Yeah.
I've just had a look, actually. There's a couple on eBay. The cheapest one is $369, and the most expensive one is 643. That's in pounds.
That's still like $500.
That's like a complete in box.
I guess that's not the worst thing ever, but I mean, what are you going to play on it? I'll tell you what you can play if you're in North America. There's an interactive encyclopedia. There's a Better Homes and Gardens cool crafts piece of software. Exotic sushi. Gadgets, invention, travel, and adventure. That's a real thriller right there. Gus Goes to Cyberopolis. Also, Gus Goes to the Kooky Carnival in Search of Rant. What? That's got to be a translation error.
So it seems like a must-buy console then.
Home Improvement 123. I guarantee that's some sort of like interactive software that's not a game, but I really hope it's based off of the sitcom Home Improvement. Thank you. If you weren't going to do it, I was going to do it. Mr. Potato Head game. We got a Power Rangers Zeo game. Play School something. Puzzles. Racing Days. Shockwave. Hey, there's a Shockwave game. Which, if I am correct, was just a shoot 'em up.
Well, already you've listed more games than were on the 32X.
Yeah, but the 32X was at least had some name behind it. But a couple of these just straight up aren't games.
Yeah, and the 32X probably had some better games.
Probably all of them were better.
Yeah, I imagine that any game on the 32X is probably better than any other game on there.
Shockwave was just it was a flight simulation video game. Oh, Riri. That might actually be kind of neat. Also apparently it came with the Gold Star 3DO. So you didn't even need to get a Bandai Pippin for that. Thanks, Apple. Yeah, and that's that.
Apple are a shit company. I'm not surprised they made a shit console.
A very expensive console, too.
Well, like everything else to sell, I suppose.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was saying. At least
At least they're consistent.
At least they're consistent, if nothing else. But yeah, basically this thing did worse than the Virtual Boy.
That is
low bar.
Yeah. Bless them. They tried. I imagine it'll probably sell more than the Google Stadia will, but
right.
We'll see.
Google fails on the Stadia, and then Apple can pull this out and just be like, look at this. This was better.
Maybe they'll release a mini version of it.
For
like all the games.
All 8 of them.
Yeah.
Well, they better have the encyclopedia on there, not updated.
Yeah. We've just got the encyclopedia from... When was it released?
1997.
Nice.
I want 20 years of information not present.
Then you can just live in the past. What's the population of America? Oh, okay. That seems about accurate. Who's the current president?
So we're only sitting at about 200 billion. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Who's the current president? Not Trump. Oh, thank God. It was all a bad dream.
All right, that's another interesting console you've brought up as well. I'm enjoying hearing about your little obscure consoles, some of which I've never even heard of before. So I think it's time we take a little bit of a break, and then Ryan has a little surprise for you. It's another quiz. Right, see you after the jump.
All right, before we bounce on out of here, I have put together a little bit of a quiz. My first time taking a shot at this. The theme is going to be, is the game a kart racer or is it an adventure game? Since a lot of games, especially around the late 90s and early 2000s, when 3D platformers and the like were super popular and kart racers were also really, really popular, they shared a lot of similar themes, often because they were themed off of the same IPs. And the way it's going to work is I am going to list the name of stages/tracks from the game.
Oh, fucking hell.
You will have to discern if it is from a racer or if it is from a adventure game. If you can answer that correctly, you'll get a point. And if you can follow up with specifically what game it is, you can get a second point. For example, I'll throw this one out here before we get going because I know Adam's going to know this one. I'll say the stages are Mount Mayhem, Inferno Isle, and Wicked Woods.
Well, it'd be adventure racing. The racing.
Yes. Yeah, so you'd say it's racing, and then you can follow up with Beetle Adventure Racing, because you know it is, and that could be 2 points. If you know the genre, but you can't remember the game, and maybe you jog someone else's memory, another person can follow up and get one of those points.
So these are going to be kart races or racing in general?
I don't have any, like, simulation racers.
Okay.
They're all pretty much kart racers.
Okay.
Or adventure games, one or the other. So, without further ado...
Well, it's a shame they're not all kart races. That would have been a lot easier.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, that's half the fun, is you have to figure out which one it is. Let's kick it off, and I'll just kind of go around the circle, too, just as we normally do. So we'll kick it off here. The first game, the stages are Breagle Beach, Spiral Mountain, Spiller's Harbor. Matt, you know what that is?
Spiral Mountain rings a bell. I'm going to say Kart Racer. I couldn't tell you the title.
Steven?
Is that Banjo-Kazooie?
So you're saying it's an adventure game?
Yeah. Like, I feel like Spiral Mountain was in Banjo-Kazooie, but it might be Banjo-Tooie. I'm going to say Banjo-Tooie.
Adam, would you like to follow up with the game?
Yep, Bunny's Revenge.
All right, so that's...
Spiral Mountain was actually in all 3 of them, but then Breagle Beach and the other one, the Harbour one, was in the GBA game.
Okay.
Grunty's Revenge was fantastic. Second game, Frappy Snowland, Choco Mountain, Calamari Desert. We'll start with Steven this time.
That's a racing game.
Do you know which one?
I know it's a Mario Kart. I just don't know which one. I'll say Super Circuit.
Adam, what are you feeling?
Yeah, it's definitely a racing game because I know it's a Mario Kart game. I'm thinking Double Dash though, but I'm not sure. I'm just saying another Mario Kart game.
All right, Matt, and how about you?
Mario Kart 64.
It is a racing game, so you all get a point there, but only Matt got the game right.
I was going to say, I think Matt's right because I can actually remember the course now. So yeah, shit.
Our next set of stages is Radical City, Regal Ruin, Reactive Factory. Adam.
That would be Sonic R, and it's a racing game.
Matt?
I was going to guess adventure game. I'm sure Adam's right, but I'll go with what I was originally going to guess.
You want to guess the title?
The known adventure game Sonic R? No, I wouldn't have known.
All right, Steven?
I was gonna say racing game. I didn't have a guess for the game, so I'll just sit out that one.
All right, well, it was a racing game, and it was Sonic Racing.
Sonic Racing or Sonic R?
Well, Sonic R.
Oh, okay. I know how the R is supposed to stand for racing game.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Sonic R. They all sounded familiar.
Our next lineup is going to be Amazon Adventure Alley, Pirate Skull Pass, and Night Marathon. Matt.
I've never heard of any of them. I'm going to guess adventure game.
Steven?
Yeah, I'm gonna also say adventure game.
And then not gonna go for a.
Nope.
No, not even gonna try there. Adam.
I've never heard of them either, so I can't guess a game. Judging by the names of them, they sound like racing games, but I feel like it may be a red herring. So my gut is telling me to go for adventure, but my head is telling me to go for racing. I'm going to say racing just to be different from the others.
Not going to pitch out.
I couldn't even begin to guess. I'll say Street Racer just so I say a game, but I don't remember the name of any of the levels. So
I'm a little disappointed in you, Adam. You did get it right by guessing at a racing game. It is from Lego Racers.
Oh, is it? Shit.
Yeah.
Remember any of the names of the courses in that? And I like Lego Racers.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was a little disappointed. I figured you'd get that one.
Yeah, I don't know the name of any of the courses in Lego Racers, to be honest. So, yeah. Oh, well.
It's a shame.
Never mind.
Let's move it along. It's a point for you. So, next set, Mushroom Hill, Hydro City, and Ice Cap. Adam, let's start with you.
That's an adventure game, although I think arguing adventure game would be a little bit iffy. Sonic and Knuckles. Or Sonic 3 and Knuckles, if you want to include them both together. I sat down myself and thinking it might have been one of the adventure games because Ice Cap's in there, but Hydro City, I think, is just Sonic and Knuckles.
What about you, Steven? What is your shot on this?
I would say adventure. I don't have a game.
All right, Matt.
Yeah, same. I was going to say adventure, but I wasn't sure which one.
Well, it is indeed an adventure game, adventure platformer, 2D platformer, and it is Sonic 3. So
Mushroom Hill is Sonic and Knuckles, so I think it's Sonic 3 and Knuckles, no?
when I was researching this, it was only showing Sonic 3, but like those were like weird split releases. So
Yeah, because I think Mushroom Hill was the first son of Sonic and Knuckles. Because it was Angel Island in Sonic 3, the first son. But
it
either
was
way,
actually.
they were joined together, so it's the same.
Yeah. Well, there you go. 2 more points for Adam.
Yay.
Next lineup: Sunrise Spring, Midday Gardens, and Midnight Mountain. Matt.
Again, I'm going to say adventure. I have no idea what. I've never heard of like any of these.
Steven?
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to say racing.
Take a pop at the title.
Nope.
All right, and Adam.
They sound familiar. It's probably going to be another title where I'm going to kick myself. And I'm wanting to say racing game. As for the title, I don't know. I'm going to say Diddy Kong Racing. I don't think it is that. I'm just literally saying it.
So it is an adventure game.
Ah.
And the adventure game is Spyro Year of the Dragon. You've probably played it at some point.
Yeah, I've played it.
Yeah.
It's been a while, though.
This one should be fresh on everybody's minds, I'm hoping. Maybe. I mean, a couple of these should be fresh on everybody's minds. We talked about a couple of them.
Our minds are fresh, though. We're pretty old, so...
Mystery Caves, Tiger Temple, and Blizzard Bluff. Adam.
Wanting to say Crash Team racing game?
Steven?
Same thing. Racing game, Crash Team Racing.
And Matt.
Yeah, it is definitely Crash Team Racing.
And you are all correct. I knew that was going to be on point. It's okay. Have to throw an easy one in there. So we're going to go with the next set. Tall, Tall Mountain, Hazy Cave Maze, and Rainbow Ride. Matt.
That's an adventure game. I think it's one of the Mario games. Tall, Tall Mountain, I'm sure is a Mario game. I'm going to say Mario 64.
Steven.
Adventure game, Super Mario 64.
And Adam.
Mario 64.
All right, that's another 2 points for all y'all. Next set, Frosty Village, Treasure Caves, Hot Top Mountain. Steven. You better get this one. You'd better get this one, Steven.
It's a racing game. It's Diddy Kong Racing because I was literally just on one of those tracks.
Matt.
I was actually going to guess adventure game.
Oof.
So, no.
And Adam.
Yeah, racing game, Diddy Kong Racing. Although, in fairness, it was only Hot Top Mountain that sprung it to my mind.
Well, and here's the thing. It's Hot Top Volcano.
Hot Top Volcano? I put that down wrong?
Yeah, it's Hot Top Volcano.
There were several mountains in this list when I was putting these down.
I remember Hot Top because that's the one where you start at the top of the volcano in the plane and you have to go around all the bits.
Yeah, you're correct. I did write that down wrong.
Yeah, and Frosty Village, I was just in the ice world.
Yes, you and Adam are both correct on both counts. And let's do this last one here. Angry Aztec, Frantic Factory, and Crystal Caves. Matt.
I think that is one of the regular Crash Bandicoot games. I think. So I'm going to say Adventure, the first Crash Bandicoot.
Adam?
I'm wanting to say adventure, but I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know. It's like part of my mind went to like ukulele, but it's definitely not that because of the Aztec. It's not Banjo-Tooie. I'm going to say adventure game, but I couldn't say what. They sound very adventure-like, but I'm going to pass on the game title.
Steven?
I'm going to say adventure game, Crash 2, Wrath of Cortex.
It is an adventure game, but it's Donkey Kong 64.
Ow.
And I think that's actually Angry Aztec.
You said Angry Aztec, you got me thinking about Papu Papu. So
yeah, I mean that's fair enough.
So you had Angry Aztec, Crystal Cave, and what was the other one you mentioned?
Frantic Factory.
Yeah, Frantic Factory. That was the one that was triggering the adventure game in me, and I was thinking, I'm sure I've played this, but I couldn't think of what.
Yeah, see, I've never played DK64, so
I can't think of what the Crystal Cave level in DK64 is.
It was literally the worst one because you had this dude who would walk around and you had the guys who'd with the clubs and they'd slam the ground. Oh no, it was a dude who'd stomp around. He'd cause a quake in the cave and like icicles would fall from the ceiling and it was a real bitch.
An Angry Aztec, is that the name of the first one?
No, that's the name of the second one, I think.
I don't know, it's been a long time since I've played it. I actually remember the factory one quite well.
Wasn't that the one that set people off on H-Bomb's live stream? Like they didn't know how to turn the power on or something?
I don't think I watched that one, but I do know that Frantic Factory is a real maze.
But again, that could be Banjo Tooie, because you do a similar thing in the factory there, in Grunty's factory. You have to turn like all the power on and everything before you can actually do out in that level.
Okay.
You have to do the same thing in Frantic Factory. You have to like throw a switch and a lot of machinery turns on and it's a pain in the butt. But now you can see how a lot of those stage names could be interchangeable.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about that and I was just like, wow, that was definitely marked an era. Also, lots and lots of alliteration.
Well, that's because it was rare.
But as well, they were probably quite similar because you had the adventure games.
Mm-hmm.
And mascots from those adventure games were put into racing games.
Yeah.
Also, mountains are a very popular topic.
And caves and stuff like that.
So, Adam, do you have a final score for us?
Matt got 9 points. Steve got 11 points. And I got 15 points. Which was better than I thought because I'm really not that familiar with racing games. But thankfully you chose the ones I'd actually played.
Right. Well, congratulations. You win nothing.
Yay, story of my life. Okay, nice one. That was fun, that. I wasn't expecting to be able to answer like any of them, to be honest, given the theme that you set. But yeah, it was pretty fun. Thanks for that, Ryan.
I'll do another one sometime.
Yeah. Okay, so with the quiz wrapped up, I think it's time to say our goodbyes. So it's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from you guys. See you later, guys. See you next month.
Goodbye.
Bye.